just when you thought that the administration forgot about the Bitcoin, just when you thought that it was the furthest thing from their mind. We're attacking Venezuela, we're snatching and grabbing presidents, we're going to Greenland, we're talking geopolitical matters, and we got the leaders in Davos, Larry Fink, Ray Dalio. We're going to talk about them in a little bit, and some very fascinating things that they talked about that you're not going to want to miss. But lo and behold, Mr. U.S. Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent had a little thought about
'Tornado cash. What does the administration think about that, contrary to Trump's executive order saying that Bitcoin should not be seized, Bitcoin should not be sold?
So, a lot of things to unpack there. I'm not going to talk about Bitcoin specifically. What I will talk about is the administration led by Treasury and our colleagues on both sides of the aisle in Congress passed historic legislation, the Genius Act for stablecoins. We are working on clarity legislation. And our goal, again, it is the president bringing digital assets and innovation onshore to the U.S. We want to be the best regulatory regime for digital assets and creativity to spark innovation. The previous administration almost created an extinction event for digital asset companies. We are bringing them back. I'm not going to comment on that litigation other than to say, if anything was seized, I believe it would have been seized from the founders, and the policy of this government is to add seized Bitcoin to our digital asset reserve after the damages are done. So the Bitcoin reserve, our view was, we have done
that earlier, and of course the internet's doing wacky stuff. What do you know? That's how life works, right? Bitcoiners are always going to have the hardest time. Bitcoiners are always going to, but we love to battle. As my college hockey coach at Michigan State University, Mr. Rick Comley, used to say, you have to love to battle. You have to love to battle. You have to, because that's what life is. If you're not battling, you're going to be under your cover somewhere hiding. Can I get 3 meals a day, safe and secure in the corner? So here we go. We got numerous things to talk about. Stuff from Jason Lowry. We've got stuff from Secretary Lutnick. Oh boy, we got Michael Saylor. We got James Lavish. Michael Saylor topping 700,000 coins now. He is on all-out attack. We have, and James Lavish talking about the Japanese carry trade, which seemingly is just completely falling apart right now. So, again, if you guys have seen any of this stuff, any of this news, type 1 in the chat if you have seen any of this. This is just, we're kind of taking in everything that's going on right now. We weren't able to do a live yesterday, but Bessent right there. Maybe I'll play it again really quick because I know the audio is low, and for people just coming in, we've got a bunch more people.
I'm about that, contrary to Trump's executive order saying that Bitcoin should not be seized, Bitcoin should not be sold.
So a lot of things to unpack there. I'm not going to talk about Bitcoin specifically. What I will talk about is the administration led.
Why not Bitcoin specifically? Why not, Scott? Why not? This is good. So we're going to talk about this with Jason Lowry in a second, but this is the downplaying of Bitcoin. The Bitcoin is the only signal in all this. If you have half a brain cell in your mind, in your head, and you've done any homework on this, you know Bitcoin is literally the only thing to be worried about in any of this. A ledger that cannot be controlled globally around the world. Riddle me this. We froze Russian assets, their treasuries, 4 years ago, well, almost 4 years ago at this point. Holy cow. And where do we think the other countries of the world, our adversaries, are going to go? Where do you think they're going to go? Again, they have some gold and silver right now. They have resources, things of that nature, because that's what we've had for thousands of years. So I get it. We got it. You're going to have that right now. But where do we think we're going in the future? Where exactly are we going to go? Do you think we're going to keep doing this banknote thing? You think we're eventually that the younger generations are going to keep putting up with this? Like we're going to just do this? Oh, I trust you, bro. Trust me. I've got some gold and silver. I've got it here. Just well, I mean, I can't really audit it. You got to assay all of it, and we don't really know what's going on. Again, mind you, we're supposed to audit Fort Knox, right? What was this 9 months ago? 10 months ago? Nothing happened. Zero.
By Treasury, and our colleagues on both sides of the aisle in Congress passed historic legislation, the Genius Act for stablecoins. We are working on clarity legislation, and our goal, again, it is the president bringing digital assets and innovation onshore to the U.S. We want to be the best regulatory regime for digital assets and creativity to spark innovations. The previous administration almost created an extinction event for digital asset companies. We are bringing them back. I'm not going to comment on that litigation other than to say, if anything was seized, I believe it would have been seized from the founders, and the policy of this government is to add seized Bitcoin to our digital asset reserve after the damages are done. So the Bitcoin reserve, our view was first you have to stop selling, which we have done, and then we can add the assets in asset forfeitures.
So there we are. Once again, this is the reminder that, again, like some of you guys are saying here, the government isn't doing anything for you. And we've talked about this before, the Declaration of Independence. We've talked about how the government was built to do very little. You do things for the country, right? The government is not supposed to be doing things for us. That's not how the government works. But we have completely flipped all the incentives on its head. So I don't want to digress too much. The Treasury has not forgot about the Bitcoin. The government has not forgot about the Bitcoin. If it's the strategic asset that we know and believe it to be, well, then guess what? They didn't forget about the Bitcoin, because we know what it is. We know what we hold. If you've done an hour or 2 or 10 hours, 100 hours of homework on Bitcoin, you know why. It's the properties of Bitcoin. It's the properties that make it inevitable if it stays decentralized and secure. That is the inevitability, because we know guaranteed governments will continue printing endless amounts of money. Period. End of story. So we know, therefore, Bitcoin is inevitable. It's first principle thinking. So I want to talk about really quick too. Balaji just wrote, winners write history. So if you do not write the history, you will not win. Fortunately, the Bitcoin blockchain is the most unfalsifiable form of history ever invented, a crypto history. And then Jason Lowery, who works for the Space Force, and wrote, again, type 1 or comment yes if you've read Jason Lowery's software, the thesis. Bitcoin will become the base layer. And before I say this, again, it doesn't matter if Jason or Scott was sent for the government. Jason works for the government. It doesn't matter if the NSA created Bitcoin, for crying out loud. Go with that. Go with that theory. Does it matter at the end of the day? That's the answer that most people, crypto, gold, whatever, altcoiners, pre-coiners, no-coiners, that's the thing that they cannot answer or will not answer. They've either not done the homework or they will not answer that question. It doesn't matter. I don't care if the NSA, and again, you're talking to a guy who wants to go back to this. So do you think that I would be using something, or if I would care, or if Bitcoiners would care if the government built it or not? Yeah, of course you would, generally. But it's the properties of Bitcoin that make it immutable, the open source code that can be audited by anyone and everyone, that makes it different. It's being attacked all day, every day for 17 years. For 17 years. 17 years and 13 days, or 17 days, sorry. That's the thing that has been shown, the resiliency. JP Morgan Chase isn't that. The central bank isn't that. It's one node. It's one node. You scam that node, that honeypot, you screw that up, you screw everyone up. And you will pay. You might get your FDIC. You might get something back. You might get a little, pittance back. But it came at the debt slavery you're about to find yourselves in bondage, in the bond market. Your kids, your grandkids, everyone, you yourself, through inflation over time, which is about we're at that exponential part. The system we are in guarantees more debt. As we showed many times here, the debt ramping up is the price of Bitcoin at the end of the day. So Jason Lowery wrote, Bitcoin will become the base layer of a new cost-imposing internet for this reason. Bitcoin will become the base layer of a new cost-imposing internet for this reason. As our current internet becomes flooded with AI spam, it already has. I mean, again, who here has endless amounts of AI spam hitting them on YouTube, hitting them on Twitter, hitting them everywhere. It's insane. People will turn to Bitcoin to store information they don't want drowned out by AI, which can generate infinite code, infinite spam, infinite bots, infinite comments at zero marginal cost. We deal with that on our channel here all the time. All the time. You have financial stuff, you're talking about Bitcoin, you get spammed relentlessly. You almost can't even have chats. You know, we have to do live shows, really, because you can't even have chats in the trailers or the comment sections of the videos, the podcast we post, because it's just spam. It's the next spam coin, it's the next this and that thing, and someone's benefiting from it. I don't know if it's the owners of the system that are benefiting from it, and they're the ones actually doing it because they're benefiting from it somehow, some way. It's pretty wild. You'd think that you'd be able to stop it. However, going back to this point, the infinite amounts of code, spam, bots, whatever, it's hard to keep up at times. So it leaves us in a tricky spot at the end of the day. Very tricky spot. Ray Dalio just warned that the current monetary order is breaking down and fiat is no longer a central bank asset. And Ray's talked about gold over the years. He's talked about Bitcoin. Better late than never. This is the world we are in now. This is the order we find ourselves in. It's because of layers and layers compounded over time of dumb decisions because of broken incentives. Vast majority of human beings, especially in the West, can see that things are collapsing. We are collapsing in all different sorts of ways through the incentive structures of society because the money has been broken. The money's been taken out of the currency. So it's backed by nothing. Therefore, it's just backed by confidence. So I shouldn't say by nothing, but it's backed by confidence, a con game. And once enough people realize 1%, 2%, 5%, whatever it is, the currency goes into hyperinflation. That's what hyperinflation is. It is a loss of confidence in the currency. Why would my currency why would it need to have confidence at the end of the day? And why do governments keep taking that confidence away? Why do they keep taking the backing away from that? Those are the questions that the average person has to ask themselves. You have the billionaires showing you the direction. And we're here at Davos, again, people pleading with everyone. Once again, we have Larry Fink in here. We have Lutnick talking about it. But we have Larry Fink somewhere in here talking about we need trust. We need trust back in the system. Well, guess what, Larry? Trust ain't coming back. And Larry has talked about this as well. Larry has spoken about Bitcoin being a fear trade. A fear trade. Now, he's not saying, he's right, but he's saying it the wrong way. Bitcoin is a trade of hope. It's a money of hope, a protocol of hope. The reason people are fearful and running to Bitcoin, running to the escape hatches, as Christine Lagarde has said, is because of the loss of confidence, the loss of trust from leaders, from you, Larry, from you, Christine, from you, Augustine, from you, Trump, Bush, Biden, Obama, and on and on and on. This is the way the game goes. We give you, the Declaration of Independence states very clearly, the powers derived from the people, from the governed. We give you the power. You don't give us the power. You don't give us rights. We give you the ability to control us. We give you the ability to govern us, not the other way around. This is what has flipped upside down over the last 100 years greatly, and is now, we're in the process of reworking this. We're in the process of reworking this. Oh, I hope I'm not in whisper mode. Am I quiet or is this a joke? I hope I'm not quiet, but who knows? Who knows at this point? Let me see here if I can mess with stuff. Hopefully, is that better? Hopefully you guys can hear me. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Type in here if you guys can hear me. And hopefully it's better. So this is the system. Lutnick going to the World Economic Forum as well. Globalization has failed. The U.S. Commerce Department themselves, here it is, here's the tweet. Secretary Lutnick at the WEF. The Trump administration and I are here to make a very clear point. Globalization has failed the West in the United States of America. It's a failed. right? We have to figure out. Wasn't sharing that. We okay, good. Some of you guys can hear me. I don't know why. Sorry, Arnold. I don't know why it's too quiet. So I'm sorry about that. So this is the thing we have to riddle ourselves. How do we do what Besant's saying while having the world reserve currency and engaging in the Triffin dilemma? How do we do that? A currency backed by nothing, and we have to export the inflation. We have to export all that, the dollars everywhere, so people can run on dollars. And it's hollowed out our entire. It's hollowed out the entire manufacturing base, the Rust Belt here in the Midwest. So how is that? How do we square that circle at the end of the day? Again, that's where Bitcoiners at the end of the day, that's where Bitcoiners have said, hey, if this is going to be the case, we need to do this. We need to go to this new protocol. You have to get off the sinking Titanic. Absolutely have to get off the sinking Titanic. And you're going to have to put society on this protocol. There's just no other way about it. How can you have this world? And again, we've shared. Not sure why it's being ridiculous, but bear with me here. It's being really ridiculous. So Lutnick knows it, Besant knows it, Ray Dalio knows it, Larry Fink's talking about it. The global order is being changed. So I guess the other question is, do we know? Is this a backroom deal that they all created? China, US, Russia, did we create some backroom deal? Or is it just, hey, Trump's going to do this. He's going unilaterally just going to do what he's going to do what's best for America, quote unquote. And he's setting up Greenland. He's doing the Venezuela thing, securing the Western hemisphere. So that way US is good. I mean, again, he is the US president at the end of the day. People may not like it or they may like or whatever it is, but he is the US president at the end of the day. So he technically does have a job to do to protect the West. I mean, the president's only job, the government's only job is only to protect the West. Now, it's not to snatch and grab leaders around the world, but it's to protect your borders. It's to protect your interests at home. So again, people are going to argue about what that is. Does that include going and snatching and grabbing leaders around the world? Does it include going and buying Greenland or taking it by force? So yeah. And Wisteria, yeah, you nailed it. So I appreciate that. It's a laggy on my end a little bit too, guys. So but yeah, I appreciate the. I was on Roxham TV earlier too with the guys, and it was laggy a little bit. So tried resetting it, but again, it's pretty snowy here in the Midwest, also storming. So this is, and then now we have at the same time we have Mr. Saylor himself. He has crossed this 700,000 Bitcoin that they have purchased as well this week. So another. Again, where do you guys think he's going? Do you think he's going to trying to get to 1,050,000, trying to get to 5% of the total supply? So again, Saylor is doing what he said he's going to do. I'm going to keep buying Bitcoin. I'm going to keep doing my thing. I'm going to buy local tops. I'm going to buy local bottoms. I don't care. I'm always going to be buying Bitcoin. And that's really the moral of the story at the end of the day. We need to continue buying Bitcoin. It's the greatest position we have to, you can vote the ballot box or the ammo box traditionally. And now we can vote with our wallet. We can vote with our feet. We can vote with our legs. We can go different places. This is the beauty of the system we live in. There's been no greater time to live in than right now. So Saylor is doing what he's supposed to be doing. Are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? Are we studying Bitcoin? Are we buying Bitcoin? Are we running a node? Are we stamping our seed into steel, into our seed plates? Are we running a node? Did I say that? Running a node? Maybe doing some mining. Are we engaging in the circular economy? Are we supporting Bitcoin businesses? That's why I have the handful of sponsors we have. I went to them because I wanted to promote people. I didn't want to just put education out there. I wanted to say, hey, these are great things. This is how I learned 10 years ago. What are the good things? I listen to a lot of content. Hey, these are the people that I go listen to. These are the people I go get their stuff. Trust, but verify, right? So do the homework, do your own research, look into things, but go start going down that rabbit hole. We can all get better. We can all keep getting better. It's an evolution. It's a process. Sailor's doing it. Everyone's doing it. Larry Fink's understanding it and realizing it. Ray Dalio, Lutnick's telling you. They're showing you right here. Again, globalization is done. We're onshoring. We're bringing things back. America's falling behind. The world is going to be more chaotic. These guys are trying to get trust back. The thing is, they're not going to get trust back because, as you guys just said, Bitcoiners had the foresight. They have to keep printing. So what happens when you keep printing? It's going to keep destroying the good, positive incentives of society. It's going to keep destroying trust over time because we're going to have dumber and dumber things happen. We're going to have more Somali daycare things found out. That's happening in every state and every municipality around the country, around the world, because of broken money. The money's been taken out of the currency. So now we have a world where it's always going to be incentivized because there's nothing backing it. So now you are incentivized to scam other people around you more and more to get yours because all of your expenses through inflation are now increasing. So now I'm a trapped animal. I'm a caged animal. I have to keep doing, and I rationalize dumber and dumber things because I have too much month at the end of my money. I can't get ahead. I can't figure out how to get ahead, the average person. So now I have to go out the risk curve. I have to sports gamble. I have to do fantasy sports. I have to play the lottery. I have to get on legal or illegal drugs because I have to sedate myself. I need to go scam people at my business. I need to go create a scam business. I'm going to go play in altcoins. I'm going to go do any number of things because I don't know how to get ahead. And I'm either going to do something about it, go scam people, create a shell business and go create some fake altcoin or do whatever, scam off of Bitcoin because I'm trying to get more fiat just to live my life, or I'm trying to scam people out of their Bitcoin, or I'm going to sedate myself. I'm going to watch endless entertainment, football. I'm going to watch, not that sports are bad. Used to be a professional hockey player. Like, it's not that they're bad. It's just keep them in the right place. We have taken distraction and made that the norm. We've made the exception the rule. And that's where all this is going. So the collapsing of the world all around us is generated from the collapse of an incentive structure. Senator Warren Davidson just brought this up. The Greenland is vital for global security and central for our national security. Meanwhile, negotiations continue on schedule. And this is the ICBM map. Again, take this for what it's worth. The Kobe SC letter wrote about it. I have not had a chance to read this yet. They usually have good stuff though, so I would read that. There's some good things that we have right here. I've been a public school teacher for 20 years. Trust me, homeschool your kids. So we homeschool our kids, and because as a Bitcoiner, again, you go down these rabbit holes and you start realizing the entire incentive system, right? We saw the stuff that people had to jab in their arms. Why is that? Well, what did the big pharma do? They incentivize doctors, different people to, hey, we'll give you such and such money if you do this. So follow the money analysis, as Nolan Bowerly always talks about, is much better than trying to follow the science, because the science is incentivized by certain people, just like the food pyramid being upside down. Money, broken currencies, are what incentivize people. Like we just said, the whole loop of scamming people. If you scam more people because I have too many expenses and they're going up too much and I don't know how to get ahead, I'm going to beg, borrow, and steal now and rob people in order to do this. This is what that creates. But if you had money that was a network, a protocol that could not be scammed long term, then you have a world where I'm continually getting wealthier over time. More of human progress, more of the innovation, all of it is then in this positive sum loop on the Bitcoin network because it's finite, equal to my finite time and value. So I can put it in this. Nobody can print more of it. No one can inflate it away. And it grows in purchasing power over time. And it could be slowly, but you're gaining it. So you're getting wealthy over time, which your wealth at the end of the day is your time and your energy and your freedom off the hamster wheel. That's your true wealth. And if I have that ability, I'm not stuck on the hamster wheel because of fiat currencies that continue siphoning away all my time and energy, then I don't have to do these things. Then guess what? Maybe I can homeschool my kids. Maybe one parent can stay home. Maybe two parents can eventually stay home. You can work from home. You could have a garden. You could have a farm. You could do other things. Not that we're all going to go back to the pre-industrial age necessarily, right? But this is where you can you start playing these games and you start working them to a logical conclusion. You can start seeing very quickly how the incentives have distorted everything. And now government-run schools are there to indoctrinate kids, and they're also there to remove the mother and father from the situation. They are glorified daycares at the end of the day. And so This is the incentive structure of society because of the broken money. So check this article out. Awesome article. And they made me think of the books of the Dr. John Taylor Gatto, who used to be a public school teacher in New York and won a lot of awards in New York, and then wrote a bunch of books slamming the public school system, the government-run school system, and saying, hey, this is a complete joke. Homework, all these things. You don't need 12 hours of schoolwork today to get smarter. Do you remember 99% of the things you learned in school? No, of course not. And it also taught us to memorize, comply. When can I go on vacation? When can I go to the bathroom? You don't have any authority or agency. You're just waiting for someone to give you a command. Memorize this, memorize that. You don't actually know what's going on. There's no critical thinking. We didn't learn things that are actually in our daily life. Like, why is that? No one thought for 100 years that maybe we shouldn't be doing things this way. No, of course not. It's because the incentives of the society are such that it was beneficial to keep people in the dark. Going back to the late 1800s, early 1900s, John Rockefeller, we want doers, not thinkers. So pulling up the ladder, right? Because of this system, this world where we've continually put bad decision on top of bad decision, we found ourselves in a place, a fourth turning, if you will, this aggregation of different cycles that are coming together. It's just hard to see because we're living through it day to day. When we look back 20 years from now, 50 years from now, it'll be very obvious that we're going through this turning. The last 50 years, obviously, everyone knows the WTF happened in 1971 website with all the broken families, the divorces, the number of lawyers, everything breaking. Well, why is that? Because we've removed ourselves from reality. We haven't tethered ourselves to reality at the end of the day. And so again, this is what Ray Dalio was talking about. That's why teachers are telling you, don't go into government-run schools. This is why we're talking geopolitics. We're talking, hey, what's going on here? And again, like we said a minute ago, these are real threats at the end of the day. They are things that we do have to deal with. So maybe Trump is doing the right thing. Maybe this is the right way to go. And hey, we got to take Greenland. We got to take some of these things. But what's tough though, and what's very frustrating for a Bitcoiner is that it's hard to trust anything because the incentives we know, like we just talked about all this, are backwards. They are upside down. So now it's very hard to trust exactly what's going on. Are we doing things for the right reasons? And that's not something I don't think we're ever going to be able to knock that completely out and say, hey, is this human doing this for the right reason or not? That's not something I think as a Bitcoiner, we're trying to get to a place where 80%, 90% or whatever it is, we are flipping the incentives of society such that it makes more sense to do things and collaborate and work together, producers and consumers on the same side of the table. Governments and people are on the same side of the table. That means government has been defunded greatly. We're back to minimalist government, back towards the founding fathers, local government, state municipalities. That's the good governance. I forget what the quote now, but I think it's from Thomas Jefferson or something, but it's the best government is that which governs least, right? And it's by its nature, government is there to strip freedoms and liberties because the job of the government is to protect its people, and it derives its power from the people. When the people don't do anything about the government, and they don't actually, because they're sedated, because they're distracted, they're on the hamster wheel, then government runs amok. And that's where we find ourselves. So this is the fourth turn. This is all these revolutionary cycles coming together. The geopolitical, the global multipolar world, all these things are falling apart because we're in that turn. How am I going to scam more people out of their currency, out of their Bitcoin or whatever it is? All these different things. Because if people really care about global warming for decades, in the last 2 decades, then they would have been Bitcoin mining. They would have been using that to help clean up the environment because that's one of the best ways, help stabilize grids, to help to do this very such things that they have been talking about for so long. How come that wasn't the case? And how come energy FUD was such a big thing with Bitcoin? It's going to boil the ocean. It's going to do all this crazy nonsense. And at the end of the day, all of a sudden there is no energy FUD on Bitcoin because what do you know? AI is here. AI needs tons of energy, and AI is centralized, is controllable, unlike Bitcoin. That should also be the signal. Hey, I probably should get on this thing that's not controllable, and the government's not promoting. Oh, but all of a sudden we have Lutnick and the boys and the gang, and we're buying Palantir all of a sudden. We're buying Intel. We're getting into bed with all this AI and centralized tech. Well, why is that? It's because governments are incentivized to control their people. This is very easy. History has shown us this for thousands of years. So Bitcoin, not controllable. AI, controllable. So which way are we going to go? And all of a sudden, AI needs even more technology or more energy. And you don't hear anything about Bitcoin energy FUD. None. None. Why is that? Why is that? It's because they can't control it with one and they control it with the other. So of course it's okay now. So you hear nothing about AI or energy in Bitcoin, but you hear, hey, we need tons of energy now. Now it's good. AI needs a lot of energy, so this is great. We're going to do all this. We're going to incentivize the use. And so the irony is not lost, right? The hypocritical nature of what's going on is not lost on any of us, and I think it's just paramount that we continue putting one foot forward in front of the other, because this is not going to play out tomorrow. There's going to be more dumb things that happen. There's going to be more chaos that ensues. And unfortunately, it's just how life works at the end of the day. This is going to continue happening. So we have to keep putting one foot, be there, hodl, study Bitcoin, engage, go to conferences, come to live streams, watch the podcast, do all these things that we have been doing for years, because this is not going to play out in one day. The younger generations, my 4 children, don't know anything different. They know Bitcoin. They know Bitcoin is the hardest money that humans have ever discovered. They know that gold and silver was very good for a long time, and then they know that fiat currencies are awful. And they're not the only ones. A lot of my cousins, or a lot of my nieces and nephews, they know as well. I'm sure a lot of your kids, young nieces and nephews, whatever it is, they know as well. This, history changes, or science moves forward, progresses one funeral at a time. And so this demographic shift over the next 10 or 20 years, it's going to be a bumpy ride. It's not going to be easy. The truth doesn't just hit someone in the face and then we're good to go. This is going to take some time. So we have to stay steadfast in our education. I was just watching something recently that I think it was Jack Mallers' dad, was telling him it's hard to be right and sit tight. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest things he said, which again, I don't agree with a lot of things Warren Buffett has done or said, but two things can be true. You can also say good things and be smart, is that his greatest ability and skill was just be patient, to look at the winners and then just be patient long term. And that's the thing. When the students are ready, the teachers will appear. And when people are ready to grok Bitcoin, when they're in enough pain, when enough has happened, people will get it. We'll have black swan events. We'll have white swan events. Good and bad things happening. Number go up, white swan event. Justin Trudeau or Dutch farmers, black swan events. 2020, black swan events. People then come to Bitcoin. Ukraine, in Russia, all of a sudden, boom. People are leaving, they're fleeing with their 12 words or 24 words in their head. Their wealth literally in their head. They have their stamp seed plate or whatever it is. They have their foundation passport, the core. They've got their, Blockstream Jade, wherever. They have their open source hardware wallet. They've had these things. They've prepared. They're growing some food. They're doing some things. They're teaching their children. They're teaching the people around them. This is inevitable that we're going to continue devolving into chaos, but the Bitcoin life raft is here. We've not had this before. That's the difference, is we have not had the life raft off of the sinking Titanic. Bingo. We've not had this before. And everyone thinks it's so hard to see. It's so hard to see. Come on, guys, there's so many aircraft carriers. You're crazy. You're nuts. US dollar is so strong. Look at it compared to everything else, all these other currencies out here. Bitcoin's super volatile. That big dark ocean. It's cold. Little small nascent asset class. Yeah, I mean, that's true. It's all true. People are reading their press clippings, though. They think the Titanic can't go down. They think the dollar can't go down. All the nuclear weapons, all the aircraft carriers, good to go. But when confidence leaves, when 1% leave, 5% leave, and they lose confidence, hyperinflation appears. It's the loss of confidence in the currency. And that's all we have backing it, is that people believe that the dollar is worth something today and it's worth something tomorrow, and they go to a store, it's going to buy them something. This is how the repo market seized up in 2019. That led us to 2020 and what happened there and all the printing that needed to happen. We got to a point where the banks weren't trusting each other in their overnight lending. They weren't trusting each other. So the rate spiked from, I forget exactly what the numbers were, from 1% to 10%. Boom. Lights out. All of a sudden, trust seizes up in the system. We're getting to a point where the dumber things that keep happening and the younger generations keep getting more power, more influence, keep speaking their mind more and more. We are quickly and rapidly approaching the subway station, the last stop on the subway station that says it's no go, no bid, no bueno time. That's where we're headed. So what protocol are you in? What protocol? Wild times. Wild times. It's good to see everybody. Richard, thank you for helping me with the audio. Appreciate you guys being patient with the lagging. Bitcoiners, Bitcoin's always getting attacked. All of us live on the live stream, the podcasters, the content creators, you guys listening, we're always getting attacked. Let's just like someone said in here, their internet was bad. This is just part of the game. You got to love to battle. Like I said earlier, you have to love to battle, as my college hockey coach used to say. So yeah, and they don't want the price to pump yet. That's why I said 100%. Again, if we think that China has not been mining Bitcoin, or we know Bhutan has, if we don't think America's in on this game, or Russia, then come on, we got another thing coming. But at the same time, the asset class is not big enough. You have to scale appropriately in size. You cannot lock the system up. Like we said this earlier about margin, or maybe I said this earlier on the Roxanne live stream, but price is made at the margin, right? So if there's only a certain number of Bitcoin available, that's why Bitcoin going into self-storage or self-custody is so important. This is why, because when there's only a small float available, a small amount left on exchanges or what have you, then it makes that the ability. So if people don't want to sell at 90,000, and then no one wants to sell at 95, and then no one wants to sell at 100, this is how price goes up, because you're trying to find a bid, ask the spread. You're trying to meet those people. The market making, you're trying to find people that say, hey, I'm asking this much, and then these people are bidding this much, and you're trying to match that. So the less float, the less Bitcoin on exchange available, the better, because that means price will continue to go up and it'll continue to eat the world. And we know that it will continue to suck all of these assets into the black hole. It's the only finite, truly finite asset we have on Earth. Completely finite. Not like kind of finite, completely finite. Even the paper and all this garbage, that will blow itself up eventually. We are going to see nations and massive banks that we never thought we'd see blow up. They will blow up 100%, because they will play funny games. And this is, I was going into the scaling thing of China and all this different stuff. The asset's not big enough. The protocol is not big enough to have these massive orders and people jumping in from the sovereign level and just jumping in all of a sudden. They have to scale slowly over time. And that's why, to your point, they try to create FUD campaigns, endless FUD campaigns, like we've talked about here multiple times. This is to get you and shake you out of the hardest protocol, the hardest internet, the hardest code, the hardest money to ever exist. 20 nuclear reactors backing up the system. Yeah, we don't know how much Bitcoin we have. They don't want to know. We're not going to know in Fort Knox. We're not going to know the Bitcoin, because you don't want to let the cat out of the bag, right? They don't want it to go. Just like, so what the real PG is saying, just like Richard just said, they don't want the price to jump. Trump, yeah, exactly. Trump ordered a year ago. Have fun traveling with gold and silver. Exactly. They won't do it. They will not do it, because then the cat's out of the bag. So it's there, but the signal is in what's not being said. Just like we said with the Scott Bessent thing, it's just been hidden, buried. They don't want to talk about it. They want price to be down. These people might not have our best interest, and that might not be leaders and smart in that regard, but they are smart people. They are smart people. They know exactly what's going on. And that's why, if you're in power, Bitcoin scares you, obviously. It gives more power to the people, and that scares people in power. But again, all people in government will eventually realize that Bitcoin's good for everyone. But it takes time. It takes time. People have not put in the work yet. They have not put in the work. So you'd think they'd be promoting Bitcoin for we the people. Exactly. And that's kind of why I was just saying this wisteria. It's a wild time. And again, this is what, January 20th? So a year since Trump has been inaugurated. A year since Trump, 17 years since Bitcoin, and a year since Trump's been inaugurated. Wild times. It's wild how fast things go. So that's why staying firm, hodling is the most important thing. So keep losing purchasing power against those hard assets. Bitcoin obviously being the fastest horse in the race because it's the one that's finite. If you have your finite time and energy on Earth, we've never had more time and energy, or we can't get more time and energy on Earth. And Bitcoin is truly finite. So those two things are finite. So your time is Bitcoin and Bitcoin is time. That's why people say that. It's because it's the perfect representation, the perfect store of your time and energy. There is nothing else that can perfectly pair with it. Close, but not perfectly. What's your thoughts on when block rewards become so small, miners have to shut down and security comes down when you get time? Thanks, Brandon. Yeah, I mean, again, this is not, I don't think this is a concern at all. All these things, whether it's quantum, people are working on these things right now. Again, even people want, to spam the chain. They want to do all kinds of stuff, the ordinals, all these things. Look, how come that's not keeping up for the miners? We've run through all of that, right? TikTok next block every 10 minutes. And you have a lot that's being batched, some of that's being batched on second layer and third layer. So these transactions get batched into it's the hardest computer network ever to exist. However, having a purge of miners wouldn't be a bad thing because we have something called the difficulty adjustment. If we have a mining purge and mining gets even more decentralized and we have mining pools go away at some point or whatever, like we have changes, I should say. We have a bunch of decentralization going on. We saw the China mining ban 4 or 5 years ago. We have this world where you have a decentralization of miners. That'd be a great thing. And we have a difficulty adjustment. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. Satoshi discovered the way, and we've talked about this before too. Bitcoin is the end of the line. It's the discovery of fire. It's not the beginning of finding cryptocurrencies, and that's most people have come into this not knowing what in the world's happening, and they think Bitcoin was the start. They think it was MySpace, and we're gonna find a better MySpace. That's not how Bitcoin works. That's not how protocols work. That's not how these emergent technologies work. Once you find fire, or once you discover the wheel, you don't create a new wheel. You can make a better wheel, and we've made improvements to Bitcoin over time. There's going to be more improvements in the future. There's going to be things that change, hopefully very slowly over time, being very methodical and careful with what's being done. But the tire, went from a wagon wheel, right? That we don't know who discovered the perfect way to put together the different component pieces, the SHA-256 and the difficulty adjustment, the 21. We don't know all who did that, and we don't know the right way, or we didn't know the right way to do all of those things the correct way. But we know now the toothpaste out of the tube, just like fire, just like the wheel, just like the printing press. These things were not discovered until they were, and now the toothpaste is out of the tube. So now we have that ability to do it. Moral of this whole story is, again, I'm not worried about something, again, like the last block rewards, or when block rewards become so small. Again, I'm thinking you're saying way down the line. Again, these are things that we will figure these things out. A lot of this will come to pass when it needs to, in the sense of, as humans, and I'm guilty of this too, we tend to look too far down the road. I know myself, I've kind of geared myself, and I've kind of figured out my brain is about 20 years ahead. Everyone's different. I think some people are 100 years ahead. Some people are 1 year ahead. Some people are 10 years. A lot of people are looking in the past all the time. That's probably a lot of people. Or I shouldn't say a lot of people. Some people are looking in the past. A lot of people probably think a day or two ahead, or a week ahead. And that's kind of how a lot hopefully it comes back. We'll see. Anyway, I lost my train of thought now because the thing is screwing up. So we think too far into the future. And so we worry about things, which again, people are already working on some of this stuff. They're already working, they think about the block rewards. They're thinking about the security. They're thinking about quantum. They're thinking about these different things that it's not my wheelhouse. My wheelhouse is to try to shift context. It's to help educate people that are at ground zero. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They're trying to make sense of the world. They're trying to make sense of what's Bitcoin versus gold, what's Bitcoin versus silver and altcoins and all these in stocks. Like that's where my teaching, I guess, comes into play. It's a context shifter, and to help break people out of that old mindset, the old matrix. How do we carry on? How does price go up? Well, price goes up by people understanding what they own, and which will continue happening. And it also goes up from the black swan events and white swan events we were talking about earlier. More dumb things will happen. You know, not the only reason, but like the main reason I do this is because I don't want black swans to happen. I don't want dumb things to happen. Like I don't want to have, what's the best way to say it? I don't want us to have to learn through pain. That's the best way to say it. You can see what's coming. And I've seen what's coming for 20 years since I was a kid. I could see what was happening. I could see socialized medicine coming in America. I could see, hey, we're losing it. Like we are losing grip on the wheel. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, as a middle schooler, high schooler, college student, was very active. And I could see, hey, we're going way away from the Constitution, way away from the Bill of Rights. And so I knew bad things were happening because I was a student of history. So I could see bad things were happening. Now, in saying that, 20 years ago, we didn't have the ability to remove ourselves off this Titanic and put ourselves on a life raft, which actually flips the incentives of society. You can't vote harder. You're not going to vote. I mean, we're past that point. Like 100 years ago, you probably could have voted differently and voting would have mattered theoretically, but we're past that point. So now you need a new protocol of the system to design life on top of. The money is the protocol that you build, the bedrock you choose to build the economic system on, the society on. So we have fiat, which is quicksand, and we try to build and put capitalism on it, and it just devolves and just crumbles and falls into the quicksand, and then just gets buried, and then it becomes creditism, cronyism, managerialism, and it starts to kind of resemble socialism, fascism, communism, all these things, and people want that because they're like, hey, we just need strong men now, and we need to get ourselves out of this thing. We need to strong men our way out of this and build ourselves back out of this. So again, that's kind of a talk for a different day, but we continue educating. When the student is ready, the teachers will appear. And that's why we continue doing what we're doing. I guarantee there's one person on this live stream right now, just like I was 10 years ago, who was learning about Bitcoin and was saying, whoa, like what is this incentive stuff? What are these first principles they're talking about? What are these monetary properties? I've never even heard of these things. And this was me 15 or 20 years ago, reading Creature from Jekyll Island, reading this stuff, going down the gold and silver path and going down the real estate path. And then eventually in the mid 2010s, I realized, whoa, that's all part of the same Titanic. Gold and silver and real estate. You might be some of the last people in, like you're up here. You're these last people yelling up here with the blue thought bubble, and you're the last person to go in the water. All the other people, the meme coiners, the altcoin people, the penny stock people, they're all these first. Like they were on the other side. They're already underwater. And then you have people in the middle that are like, they own businesses, stuff like that. Then you have like gold and silver and like real estate guys. They got good tax advantages, things like that. They're looking pretty, looking hot. They're the last to go in the water. So it looks really enticing. And then I realized 10 years ago, oh my gosh, I think I'm on the wrong side. I'm on the Titanic still. I'm not on the lifeboat. So you can learn, this is the George Gammons of the world, the Jeff Snyders, the Tom Wheelwrights. They're like, we're going to learn all about this old system that's collapsing. And again, this is 10 years out, 20 years out probably. We're a little ahead of the curve. So right this second, we just interviewed Doomberg the other day. It was a great interview, got a great response. So thank you guys. And he has an older, like Gen X kind of mentality, like the George Gammons of the world. Like pragmatically speaking, hey, yeah, but it's not money right now. I get it has all the properties. Well, again, George Washington also could have said, yeah, you know what? The king said no. Darn it. Oh, shucks. But like some people have to move society forward. Why learn this old system? Why would I learn this old system? And that was me. Again, I'm talking from experience. And from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I was macro guy. I was learning what are real rates, and I was learning the plumbing of the shadow banking system and all these things. Why? Why am I wasting all this time when there's this new system right here that we could just use this instead of this broken system that I have to trust everyone and I have to just like believe that they say is right is really going on? Absolutely wild times that we're in. But that's what's breaking down. That's what people are realizing. Many of us are realizing and have realized, yeah, this ain't going to work anymore. This ain't going to fly. This 10-tier justice system, Forget a 2-tier justice system. It's a 10-tier justice system. We got all kinds of shenanigans going on. We got broken incentives. We got mal incentives. We have just outright fraud and lunacy, endless wars everywhere. Forget it. Like, who here is sending their kid over to fight overseas somewhere? I mean, I was guy, also speaking from experience, I wanted to be a Navy SEAL my entire life. I wanted to play hockey and I wanted to be a Navy SEAL or a fighter pilot. That's not me anymore, because I realized, what am I fighting for at the end of the day? What are we doing? We're just endless escapades everywhere because of the broken currency, or the currency backed by nothing. The money's been stripped from the currency. Condition is supposed to push the dollar price higher. I'm not sure what that was referring to. Oh, something we were talking about. I don't remember what it was now. You guys were saying that everything was fine, getting some lag, volume okay. Thank you for that. Bitcoiners had this foresight. Okay, so we're catching up now. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate the kind words. Appreciate you saying that. While I'm going through these again, I appreciate you guys supporting the channel, supporting the show. I love talking to you guys, and it means a lot. And I really look forward to 2026, doing much more of this, having the podcast. We got Matt Prusek of American Bitcoin Mining, Trump insider, family insider. That drops tomorrow. It's a very interesting interview. I actually asked him about, like, hey, did the Trumps get Bitcoin now? Like, we were doing some shenanigans, but like, did they understand it now? So that's a really interesting one. I think you guys will really enjoy that. And I appreciate all the feedback on the Doomberg one. Like I said, the Doomberg one was really cool. We're trying to get some people that are outside the echo chamber. Because again, we can't just reside in the echo chamber, in my belief. So how do we get outside that a little bit? And it's been fun. So we're gonna have more of this going forward too. I love it, Trini. Yes, sparkly horns, catching it live. Great to see you, Trini. Love that you guys are thinking of homeschooling. I love it. I love it. And it's, how do you start, right? How do you start? Well, you start by getting off the hamster wheel, saving a Bitcoin, custodying your Bitcoin, running a node, stamping your seed in your stamp seed. Do that. And again, if you guys want to check out any of the sponsors, like I said, you get some sats off, dollars off, and stuff like that. Free calls with the Bitcoin Way, Crowd Health, Meanwhile, Bitcoin denominated life insurance. Just trying to denominate everything in our lives in Bitcoin. Whether you're keeping your net worth in Bitcoin, looking at it, if you're keeping your net worth, look at it, the dollar price, but also look at it. I remember years ago, like 4 years ago, Dr. Jeff Ross was saying, hey, denominate your life in Bitcoin. So meanwhile, the insurance company denominates everything, their balance sheets, everything, all their financial statements in Bitcoin. First company I've seen do that. So, root your life in that and things will start changing. So that's where someone said this earlier, like, how do we start doing this? And the price goes up. Well, more people start doing this, to denominating their life in Bitcoin and running on a Bitcoin standard. And this happens, supporting local Bitcoin merchants, going to, using Club Orange, also another one of ours. You can see they sponsor our pod as well. Very grateful. Just had Brian and Mateo on the show as well, and they talk all about this. Local Bitcoin meetups, using Bitcoin enabled merchants, all these different ways you can support local Bitcoiners, and Bitcoiners will continue growing in wealth, and then we will gain more power. We're going to this phase, and we talked about this episode coming up, which will come out in a few days. We're getting to a phase now where there's enough people in Bitcoin over this next epoch or so that will have enough wealth, and that still need to work. Might be very wealthy people, but at the same time, you'll probably still work. There'll still be a lot of people working and want to give back to society, where the early generation or two of Bitcoiners, a lot of them hit the lottery in a way, and a lot of them have retired. Some of them have lost their Bitcoin or it's frozen or whatever it is, so they can't get it. So there wasn't a ton of activity of the first 5, 6, 7 years of Bitcoiners. Now, people that come in probably 2016, 17, 18, and then now here 10 years later, and in the next 5, 6, 7 years, those Bitcoiners are going to have a lot of businesses. They're going to be building businesses. They're going to be investing in businesses. We see Ego Death Capital, 1031. So patience is the name of the game. Keeping the main thing, and then patience, because this is coming massively. We know the governments have to print. We know Bitcoiner wealth is growing. There's going to be Bitcoiners pouring back into the system even more. That is a system we are going into. Do not jump out of the lifeboat and freeze your behind off because you jumped out of the lifeboat too early. This is inevitable. I've never seen anything like this in my life. The properties that Bitcoin has, the part of the society that we're in, I've never seen everything coming together like this before. I have not seen it. So understand what you hold, understand what you have, and that's the way forward. So do what you can do to get off that hamster wheel, save in Bitcoin, and slowly get wealthier over time. I forgot who said it. It was Someone I just interviewed recently as well will come out in the next week here. It wasn't Matt or Brian and Mateo. It was at Mel Madison. I'm trying to think of what, and they said, this isn't get rich quick, it's get rich slowly. You're watching your friends hit the lottery slowly. And we're going to have a massive explosion of people building businesses and doing these things because they have the wealth to do it. They're going to be going into government, funding their own campaigns, building businesses. You're going to see the circular economy explode. And then the people that go into the politics, guess what? They're going to be rerouting governments around Bitcoin. And then what happens as Bitcoin grows and Bitcoiner will... Guys, do not fade the next 5 or 10 years. Do not fade the next 5 or 10 years. The next generation students are going to be the leaders. Yeah. Yep. 100%. And people have seen all the awful stuff that's been going on, and they just ain't going to have it. The younger generation is not going to have it. And my kids know nothing different than Bitcoin, sound money, teaching them entrepreneurial principles, critical thinking, communication. And this is the beauty of homeschool too. So, I mean, the more people are realizing all these things, people are realizing homeschool. They're realizing the ails of the government and the government-run schools and all these things, the money. I mean, it's all coming together slowly but surely. I've never seen anything like this before. We're getting there. It just takes longer than we all think it's going to. Yeah. Yeah, international schools, it's all these programs. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. School is indoctrination. That's why they want your kids at 3 years old. That's why, because they want your kids early and often. Early and often. And then homework, as John Taylor Gatto points out, is just a way to control you outside of school. It's so you can't talk to your based Uncle Wisteria, your based Uncle Brandon, your based Uncle, you can't talk to the people and hang out with people in your family because got to do 2 hours of homework every night. Garbage. What did you learn from that? Again, what's your intent at the end of the day? Is it to have fulfilling relationships and actually have common sense and knowledge, street smarts, or is it to have some book knowledge I'm never going to use again, which AI is going to take your job anyway? I mean, again, what's the intent of society? And I do homeschool. Me and my wife homeschool our children. So for the last 2 years, did a private school for a year or 2 years, the lowest age, kindergarten, stuff like that, and tried to do that and just didn't make sense, and had to make some changes in our life and had to take a back seat to some things and some of our goals or things, the businesses we have, because training the next generation, our children, was more important than anything to us. And that is, again, if we focus on our children and what we have and what we control right around us, then that ripples out. That butterfly effect affects all of society. Instead of all of us yelling at things we can't control, Davos and what Trump's doing, I can't control that, but I can control what I control right here. And that's the true low time preference, long-term thinking. They do. They all want control. That's for dang sure. Does Warren Buffett still think Bitcoin is rat poison? Yeah, I mean, I think he does. I think he knows what kind of rat poison it was. It was rat poison for Wells Fargo, his scam investment. He owns a bunch of Wells Fargo, right? And it's rat poison for the banking system. And his Wells Fargo bank was scamming people out of millions of customers out of their accounts, making new accounts they didn't know about and charging them, etc. Just wild, absolutely wild. So again, 2 things can be true though. He can have a lot of good comments, and I've got his book of newsletters, shareholder letters back there, but also, he can say dumb things and do dumb things as well. Yeah, I mean, Sailor came because of that, right? Pain. So that's what's going to happen, Astrostar. Sailor came because of pain. Other people are going to become for pain as well. Yeah, Bitcoin is a glitch in the matrix for sure. It's why everyone's so focused on price when it's one of the most rare things ever, and fiat is the least rare. It is. And this goes back to what we were saying earlier, which is the psyops and the brainwashing for so long through government schools and then the legacy media. It's kind of like we've all been, if you've ever seen Zoolander, we've all been trained just with different trigger points over time. So schools taught us all these things, culture has taught us, legacy media has taught us, and we just kind of operate, and then we kind of glitch back into different ways to operate, just like Zoolander did when he heard the one thing. So then he had to go off the guy, right? Once he hears the relaxed song. So that's it. That's what government and schools, the indoctrination, has done to us. We cannot think critically. It's wild. Again, the energy FUD is there for Bitcoin for 17 years. And then all of a sudden, boom, turn a switch. Energy is okay because AI is here and we can control you with AI. That's what's unsaid. We can control you and centralize. So we can control you with it. So we like it now. Absolutely wild stuff, guys. I mostly only post Bitcoin content on Facebook and I rarely do I get a like. I love that. All you need is one, Wisteria. All you need is one. Like I said, there's one person on the show today that will see it and they will be changed. And then that ripple effect. And this just happens over time. And that's why I do this. That's why I do it, to change one person, but it's also to get a grasp of what's going on for me. It's also to reinforce my learning, my growth, my repetition. And also to do that for you guys as well, because this is how I learned 10 years ago. And as a hockey player, I mean, we go countless power skating, countless shots out in the driveway, out on the ice, doing shot after shot. Repetition is how we learn. That's how humans learn. It's how you change paradigms, is repetition. It's really the biggest and only way to change a paradigm, which is a multitude of habits, a bunch of habits together. Your paradigm can only be changed through constant repetition. And so it's going to be this repetition of being beat over the head relentlessly by your governments that's going to change people. So, yeah, it has a half-life generation. Yeah, yes, so true. Bitcoin is immoral. So true. People get scared really easily. They need to lift more heavy stuff. Boy, is that true. I have a theory that, again, most men are weak now because they haven't got punched in the face. Going along those lines, we don't lift heavy stuff. We don't do things where it's a very effeminate society now, and we've lost a lot of testosterone, right? So when you have no accountability or feedback loops, you don't get punched in the face. Like boys used to wrestle all the time and we'd fight. I grew up playing hockey, obviously, so I get in a lot of fights, but you lose that respect and accountability and merit when you don't have that, when you just have a screen in front of your face from this age of 3 years old all the way up. So now it's tough. I'm a keyboard warrior now, and you don't have these real feedback loops. So, not today. Don't forget there are some people from the beginning of time since 2008 that has not been, or some people for whom the timing of this has not been optimal. It's not simply about being scared or weak. Not all cases are the same. Yeah, it's so true, Richard. And that's what I was trying to get to earlier, because like I've had some really close friends, family of mine say, hey, I get all this, Brandon. Like it makes tons of sense. Where do I start though? Like I don't know where to start. And so that's exactly what I was trying to get to earlier, and I probably didn't do a good job of it. So I'm glad you brought that up, Richard. It's one step at a time, right? It's one little thing at a time. I'm just trying to think of how I went about it 15 years ago, 20 years ago, really around the crash when I was graduating college. What do I have to do? I picked up one book. I picked up Why We Want You to Be Rich by Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki. Then I picked up Creature from Jekyll Island. And then once those things really pissed me off, then that really spurs you obviously into more action. So, buy of one fraction of a Bitcoin. Hey, how do I self-custody? How do I put that into a wallet now, right? One little step at a time, one little thing a day, one little thing a week, and then just kind of build this up over time. Then all of a sudden you find yourself and you're like, whoa, I've got more time on my hands because I have more wealth, or I have more freedom, or you know what? I don't have to listen to my employer. I don't have to listen to government because I'm out of the system. So I don't need to do that thing to my body. So it's just one thing over time and being intentional with it. Just shared your podcast again. Oh, thanks, Wisteria. That means a lot. That really means a lot. It's I'm very grateful. That just, yeah, I want to say blush, but that's not the right word. I'm trying to think of the right word. But it's, yeah, I don't know. My mom, let me say this. My mom always said I would be a good teacher, but I always couldn't stand teacher. So I'm just going to say it. But here I am doing this for years. So I love teaching. I love learning, and I love trying to share what I have learned and sharing what I see in my experiences, etc. So, I guess moms do know, right? Oh man. I think it's stay poor slowly, and then all of a sudden, yeah, it's so true. So true, Mr. Dinkles. Good to see you, by the way, Mr. Dinkles. It's a stay poor slowly. It really is. Then all of a sudden, it is truly. And it's like iceberg flipping. That's why these analogies of Titanic are so good. The iceberg will flip. It melts enough, and then all of a sudden, whoo, and it just flips. And Parker Lewis's book, Gradually Then Suddenly, is a great book. I think it's the old Ernest Hemingway quote of how did you go bankrupt? Gradually then suddenly. It just flips. For education and money, consider these two terms: fitness for purpose and fitness of purpose. Ooh, I love that. Love that. I gotta take a little. I don't think I've heard that before. I love that. That's great. That's awesome, Richard. Just keep stacking sats. Nailed it, Trini. Great show. Thank you, Dindon. Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys so much. I'm hopefully indoctrinating them. The reception of Bitcoin posts. I love it. Oh man. Yeah. Older people, definitely, Richard, for sure. And that's part of the learning new things, right? The Alvin Toffler book from 1970, the people of the future will be able to learn, unlearn, and relearn. It's hard. I mean, it's the hardest for old people because they have so much experience and they generally have done better in the system. So why would I change the system? Why would I go through all this? So it is tough. It's very tough. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys so much. So it's a changing of the guard. But I do think the older generations will, if you're in assets, I mean, that's the thing. At the end of the day, you really have to, it's not financial advice, but you have to get out of the dollar. So dollar denominated assets, okay, it's a little bit better, not great. Bitcoin being the best protocol outside the system. Gold and silver probably being right there next best. Then maybe a real estate, you get some tax advantages, stuff like that. But it's like this totem pole, right? It's a spectrum that you have to go through of what's the safest thing to be in. And then down at the bottom probably is U.S. Treasuries, like cash, just being in cash sitting there. Short term may be good. Might have a crash. There might be a nominal crash in prices. And so dollars might do well. But, we're talking long, maybe 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years, right? If you're 50 years old or 60, 60 years old or 70 years old, hey, you're going to live 20 more years. If you're 70, again, everyone needs to be out of cash long term. Again, in the next 6 months, year, 2 years, could cash do well and you have nominal crash in prices and your dollar is buying you more? Yeah, of course. But we're talking, I'm always thinking 20 years ahead, like I said earlier. So it's, what are we building our future system on? I'm sick of seeing the incentives of society create just chaos everywhere. So like, it doesn't float my boat to like talk about like some like if that makes sense. The society will be better. That's why I've said for a long time, the last person in Bitcoin will still be wealthier, way wealthier than they are today, because society will continue getting better, less social unrest over time, because the technological growth has been distributed back to all the people holding Bitcoin. So the last person in the game will still be better off than they are today. So that it's a fallacy to think like, oh, I got to get mine now, or like, what about the last guy getting in? He will still be better off. He will still enjoy a better life, a higher standard of living, because everyone around him is becoming nicer. They're reaching their highest potential, their self-actualization, their Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? They are climbing that. So they will be more fulfilled, more happy. They'll be able to find their spirituality, their purpose, like all these things or whatever it is. Not that you can't if you're poor, but it's a world that we've been shown, obviously, the economics going up of a society, the better off, the less social unrest. So anyway, well, hey, setting the tone for the next generation, Richard, right? Setting the tone, little chunks of Bitcoin. Real estate. None of us were alive during that time, right? So that we are out of luck. Some people are super young, so they don't get Bitcoin either. Some people are your age. Some people are my age. They're in their 30s or late 30s, early 40s or whatever. So like everyone has different opportunities at different times. And I guess that's probably the best way to look at it and just be realistic about it. So appreciate you guys a ton. I got to run. Kids got things to do. Appreciate you so much. Check out the Matt Prusak episode tomorrow. And I just love seeing you guys. We'll have to do some earlier shows here too. This will help. So check out the Matt Prusak episode. Also, you can check the Doomberg. I'll try to click or tag the link here for the Doomberg one. Check that out. Let me know what you think. We'll see you guys on Thursday. We're doing another live stream on Thursday. Appreciate you guys a ton. Have a good one.